Hudson County View live at Uncut. I'm the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, John Arhitis. And today we have a show that is going to be focused a lot about Liberty State Park, the Protection Act, and some groups, and one group, I guess in particular, that would like to see some privatization at the park. So you guys that have been reading and watching intently, of course, we always appreciate you. I just wanted to point out that those of you that have been reading and watching intently for the past couple of weeks, you know that this Liberty State Park battle between preservationists such as Sam Pesin and the Friends of Liberty State Park have been at odds with Paul Fireman and Liberty National yet again. Yet suddenly, yesterday, really just apparently out of whim, I mean, I don't really know where it came from, Paul Fireman made the announcement that they're going to halt any additional push to expand the golf course by 3 holes, which would have went into the Caven Point area of Liberty State Park, which is 22 acres. So in light of that, we're going to spend a lot of the show on this developing story, and a big portion of today's program will be allocated to 2 different interviews. One will be with, as I just mentioned, Sam Pesin, the Friends of Liberty State Park president, and I'm also going to be speaking with Bruce Alston, who is somebody that has been talking about having minority voices at the table and is open to privatization at the park. So we're going to speak to both of them, and if we have time, I also have some stories that we'd like to discuss regarding Congressman Series, the Hoboken budget, as well as in a case involving tax fraud with a Hudson County Politico. So with that, we're going to take our first commercial break, and when we come back, I'm going to be sitting here with Sam Pesin.
Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design, studio, and large inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net. Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights, your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments, carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants, all major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712. The Jersey City Medical Center. You know it for its award-winning, life-saving ambulance service. It's also your health hub, with health and wellness locations staffed with certified professionals all through Hudson County. The Jersey City Medical Center, here to help you with your healthy, here when you need us the most. The Jersey City Medical Center. Visit us on the net to learn more. Jersey City Medical Center, Robert Wood Johnson, Barnabas Health Facility. Let's be healthy together.
Hudson County View live at Uncut. I'm John Arhitis, and as promised, here is Sam Pesin. So Sam, obviously it's been a very interesting week. I think that would be an understatement. It was quite a council meeting last night, 9 hours. I think that's definitely in contention for the longest meeting of all time. Certainly in the top 10, I think it goes without saying. But with all that in mind, let's talk a little bit about what happened before the meeting. So unexpectedly on Wednesday morning, we found out that Paul Fireman decided he's going to, quote unquote, halt or put a pause on this plan to expand into the Caven Point aspect or portion, I should say, of the park. So just tell me about your thoughts.
Well, all park supporters were glad to hear that Paul Fireman says he's halting his assault on the Caven Point Natural Area to relocate 3 golf holes for multimillionaire golfers when he has other land alternatives and when he should never get public land. But he just said halt, and I feel his strategy is to try to kill the Protection Act, the long overdue law that would finally protect the park from privatization plans. And he'll go to the legislature with his pay-to-play meetings and with his disinformation and try to kill the Protection Act, because he probably feels that even though Governor Murphy said the park's a treasure, that maybe he'll wait it out for another administration to privatize this sanctuary for migratory birds. And also it's an important urban environmental education resource where hundreds of urban students go for nature education each year. He should not get any public land, and he's behind all these false narratives and a lot of disinformation I can just give one example. He says Caven Point is contaminated, but it was cleaned up by 2004, and the DEP does not require any further remediation at Caven Point. So this is a grassroots effort with 85 organizations in a coalition, 18,000 people signing a petition to stop this latest assault on Liberty Park.
So Sam, I'm glad you brought that up because in his statement yesterday, which was pretty long, as you know, he made mention that, let me just read a quote. Sam Pesin and the Friends of Liberty State Park do not support proper contamination of the interior 235 acres of the park, which sits next to a minority neighborhood. Pesin wants this land to be a preserve, not a park. And he continues, the toxic contaminated land currently sits behind a chain link fence where recreation, which were promised to minority communities, should exist. So obviously he talked about social justice, racial justice, and things like that. I won't read the whole thing, but just your take on him getting pretty personal on all this.
Well, it's another fireman lie. If he's read the news over the last 25 years or more, then he would know what's happening with the interior. And also, as the DEP Director of State Parks told Councilman Robinson and Council President Joyce Waterman about 6 weeks ago on a Zoom call, the interior planning is moving forward. I think maybe in September or October, they will be announcing plans and getting input. I think they'll be 30% done with their engineering plans. They want public input, and they'll announce the remediation plans. And everybody wants that interior open. There's been studies and many public meetings over the years, and Governor Chris Christie announced the polluters funds that will pay for the cleanup and opening up of the interior.
Very good, Sam. I just want to acknowledge for everyone that it appears that your camera has dropped, your video. However, we can still hear you loud and clear, so we're going to stick with it, but I just want to... All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to see if we can work this out, and we'll be right back. Sorry for the technical difficulty.
You know those times when you need to see the doctor, but you just can't get to the doctor? So where do you go? Go to the App Store, download the Telemed app from RWJ Barnabas Health, and you see the doctor right away, from any mobile device, whenever you want, wherever you are.
Quality care, no appointment necessary. The doctor is online when you download the Telemed app.
Don't you feel better already?
RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
Rama Jewelers, located in the Lyndhurst Shopping Center at 413 Valley Brook Avenue, Lyndhurst. Come for all your jeweler needs at Rama Jewelers, where you will find a fine selection of necklaces, earrings, rings, and bracelets. Choose from one of our complete sets, our many signature items, or find the perfect engagement ring. Come on down. That's Rama Jewelers at 413 Valley Brook Ave, Lyndhurst. Call 201-939-5784 or visit us online today.
Good Friend Self-Storage in North Bergen, New Jersey is a fully climate-controlled facility equipped with state-of-the-art security, packing supplies, a Refer a Friend program, and multiple loading docks convenient for commercial use. Located just off of Route 3 at 4301 Tunnelly Avenue, Route 1 and 9. Call 201-867-2444 or visit us on the web today. Good Friend Self-Storage. Let us be your good friend.
Newport, the luxury waterfront community on the Hudson River, offers a quality of life you deserve in 10 high-rise rental towers with amenities such as the on-site Newport Path subway, light rail and ferry service, Newport Town Square, 3 playgrounds, dog run, upscale restaurants, retail giants like Sears, JCPenney, Macy's, and Target. Morton Williams Supermarket is just outside your front door. A health and fitness club, spa, skating rink, and medical facilities are also on site. NewportNJ.com. Enjoy the New York skyline from Newport Town Square. Manhattan is just one path stop away or quick ride through the Holland Tunnel. Nursery and private elementary schools all on site. 12-screen movie theater at the Newport Center Mall. Want to visit Newport? Stay at the Westin or Marriott Hotel. Go to NewportNJ.com for details. Newport has luxurious towers, great restaurants, shopping, New York skyline views, schools, playgrounds, a marina and yacht club, gym, spa, fine wine, fine living. It's incredible. It's you. NewportNJ.com. Newport, live like you want.
Most women who give birth recover without problems, but any woman can have complications after the birth of a baby. Learn the post-birth warning signs such as fever, headache, chest pain, shortness of breath, increased bleeding, or thoughts of hurting yourself or someone else. Knowing these can save your life or the life of someone that you love. Trust your instincts. If you feel something is wrong, call and get evaluated by your healthcare provider. If your symptoms get worse or you do not hear back from your physician, call 911 or go to the nearest emergency room.
RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
Okay. All right, sorry about the technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. Hudson County View, live at Uncut. John Hydas back with Sam Pesin. Sam, sorry about that. So again, I just will re-ask the question. So the Liberty State Park Protection Act was passed by the Jersey City Council by a vote of 8-1 last night. It was, of course, sponsored by Ward E Councilman James Solomon, and the only no vote was Ward F Councilman Jermaine Robinson. Just your thoughts on that?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you now.
Can you hear me, John? Yay, okay. So
Yeah, you're good.
I'm delighted that the resolution was passed, and it has a couple of amendments, which I just want to briefly mention, and also talk about very briefly the Protection Act. So the Friends of Liberty Park have never opposed active recreation in the park. The Director of State Parks told Councilman Robinson a few weeks ago that she is very open to exploring with the community active recreation amenities in the park. I worked with the late Mayor Glenn Cunningham 2002 to try to get an athletic field in the park. So that's one thing. The Protection Act doesn't prevent any active recreation, and that will happen in Liberty State Park. Another aspect is that the Protection Act allows for small-scale commercial activities, like a winter ice skating rink, after-hours use of the terminal, food vendors, and things like that. So it's not a purist bill. Now, another thing that the council was told about, that the Friends and the Baykeeper and other people I've been speaking with the last few months, we're going to be in touch with Assemblywoman McKnight, Assemblyman Raj Mukherjee, about the right thing to do of expanding the advisory committee. It was Senator Cunningham's bill, main spot from the Senate, Raj Mukherjee in the Assembly for a year, and the idea was of environmental stewards on that advisory committee, and comprehensive public participation is built into the law. But as I expressed to the council, it is the right thing to have a couple of social justice groups based in Jersey City, like even on Bruce Alston's flyer, Jersey City NAACP, or Urban League of Hudson County, maybe Jersey City Together, or other groups to be considered by Assemblywoman McKnight and Raj Mukherjee to expand that committee. And the other thing is that the park's subtitle could be the Public Empowerment Act, because it does, as I say, require comprehensive public participation. And even for those small-scale commercial activities, any lease would have 2 public hearings and a public comment period. So the main purpose of the act is to end 44 years of privatization assaults on Liberty Park, to protect the park in its entirety for future generations.
Very good, Sam. Due to time, sorry to have to cut you short, but we lost a couple minutes there due to the technical difficulties. So we're going to let you go.
Okay.
Thanks for joining me today. We'll be talking
Thank you.
soon. Best of luck, okay? All right.
Thank
We're
you
going to
very
take
much,
another break,
John.
and then we're going to... Yeah, you're welcome, Sam. Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for your patience. We're going to just take another quick break, and we'll be back with Bruce Alston.
Pen and Pencil Properties, Jersey City. Shaping the workplace with state-of-the-art office spaces that address your company desires. Building residences that define your home environment, adjacent to all modes of transportation with on-site parking available. The right address, the right lease. Call 201-521-9000 or visit online at penandpencilproperties.com. Pen and Pencil Properties, building Jersey City forever.
You know those times when you need to see the doctor, but you just can't get to the doctor? So where do you go? Go to the App Store, download the Telemed app from RWJ Barnabas Health, and you see the doctor right away, from any mobile device, whenever you want, wherever you are.
Quality care, no appointment necessary. The doctor is online when you download the Telemed app.
Don't you feel better already?
RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
And here we are with Bruce Alston. Bruce, nice to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, buddy, how you doing? How you been?
Can't complain, man. You guys are keeping me busy, so that's all right. There's no slow weeks here in Jersey City. That's no problem. So
Never, never,
obviously,
never, never.
it's been an interesting 24 hours here. So first of all, just give me your take on the two latest developments with Paul Fireman announcing that he's going to put a pause on the expansion, and then the council passing the Protection Act resolution.
Well, I think that I read what Mr. Fireman wrote, and I for one look forward to having maybe a discussion with him, right? Because I've never met the man, never had a discussion with him. But this is not about Paul Fireman. I mean, my fight has never been about protecting Mr. Fireman. I could really care less about Mr. Fireman's issues. My fight against the Friends of Liberty Park is why are minorities sitting at that table when this policy was being drafted? I'm tired of the African American community, the Latino communities, the Black and Brown communities, always being told later on what to do and what's at hand. See, that's the problem. The problem is we are never taken seriously. We're constantly disrespected, even by people who live in our community. So that's why I'm very adamant in my belief is that we have to have a thinking that we should be at the seat at the table, and more than that, John, we need to be the leaders at that table. And that's my fight. I'm not going to get on here and talk about Mr. Fireman. I don't know the man. My fight has been consistently over the past 15 years, making sure that Black and Brown voices are represented socially, economically, educationally, to fight this systematic racism that I see is not only in government, but is also in these advocacy groups that claim they know what's best for Black people. And I'm sorry, they don't.
All right, Bruce. Now, you obviously saw Mr. Pesin's comments just a few minutes ago. Now, I know a big thing that the Liberty State Park for All group, they've been talking about that they believe that there's a lot of land that still has contamination. But according to what Mr. Pesin just told us a couple of minutes ago, he says the DEP has said that there's no other remediation efforts necessary as of 2004. So would you care to respond to that?
Oh, well, that's one of the reasons why I wish Mr. Pesin would and like man up and have a direct conversation with me, because he knows that that cleanup amount is not enough to clean up 230 acres. John, factually, there's 100 acres down at Bayfront that is being remediated. It costs $500 billion to do that, to clean it up. $500 million to clean up 100 acres. It cost us $60 million, right, to clean up 13 acres at in Berry Lane. And there's still organizations like Graco that say that cleanup wasn't done sufficiently. So when you're talking about putting in $80 million to do cleanup at Liberty State Park, right, in 230 acres, that's a false narrative that he's spreading. He knows that it's the minimum required, right? And it will not allow active recreation. And when I talk about active recreation, I'm talking about ball fields, basketball courts, tennis courts, and stuff like that. That's what Mr. Pesin is trying to be very slippery in his maneuver right now. The maneuver is, let's keep this thing on with firemen. Let me get this coded language that's going to protect this preserve, that's not going to allow for these type of active recreational activities. The other thing is this: 230 acres is enough to allow everyone to have everything done. Now, the one thing I want to point out to you is when Mr. Pesin is stating that he wants to preserve this nature, this bird sanctuary at Caven Point. Do you know that that land is a historic fill right there? It's not. It's historic fill. It opened in the 1950s and it was 50 acres. Right now it's 21 acres. So when he says that it doesn't need any type of remediation, that's another false narrative. What I'm told through my sources, and I haven't spoke to Liberty National, right, is that Mr. Fireman's plan was very simple. Let me go there. Let me bring it back to its natural beauty, right? The natural fill, which would roughly be probably about 50 acres. He proposed to take 21 acres and give the Liberty Park, the bird sanctuary, the rest of the 30 acres. Why can't you do both? Why can't we just be open to the possibility? But what it is this though, right? you have Mr. Fireman on one side, you have Mr. Pesin on the other side, and you have a guy like me that's down the middle that understands advocacy and understands business and understand that there are kids being murdered on the south side of the city that need recreational outlets, and that Liberty Park can present that. It can present that. It's an opportunity for everyone to have a place in Liberty Park.
So two things, Bruce. So actually, just a clerical point. So this Liberty State Park for All, are you officially part of that group at all?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. And this is the other lie.
Okay.
Mr. President is claiming I'm the author of this, right? I was sent this just maybe by you or different other people. It was on a bunch of cars and everything. I have nothing to do with this. He's upset that I posted it on Hudson County Chronicles, but he hasn't been upset in the past when I've shared different things that Friends of Liberty Park have put out there. The other false narrative is, Mr. Peasant, I'm not a member of Liberty National. I'm sorry. It's flattering, but I can't afford a $650,000 membership. I'm sorry. So this narrative that this narrative that African Americans, leaders, or people that are vocal that say, let's meet, let's talk, let's discuss, that there's somebody bought off by a billionaire, that's nonsense. This is not about Mr. Fireman. This is about the African American community having a seat at the table, the Latino community having a seat at the table, just like they did in 1977 when the master plan was implemented. Now, Mr. President will say to you, John, oh, Department of Environmental Protection, the parks, they run the park. I don't run the park. He's absolutely right. But if you don't run the park, you shouldn't be the one setting policy. I'm sorry. And his claim that, oh, well, we agree to put a couple of social justice advocates on, and he wants to throw with names. That's disrespectful to the African American community. He does not get to decide the policy. He does not get to decide that policy. And it's about time that someone stands up to Mr. Peasant and say, listen, you've had a run at this for 40-something years. It's time for you to get community input, true community input, with community meetings that provide outreach. Spend some of that money that he's been collecting over the years to preserve Liberty Park and put it back in the community and see what the community wants.
So Bruce, I'm told, just for the sake of conversation, I guess, Caven Point has interior funding for remediation, and the Department of Environmental Protection is supposedly going to announce that in September or October. So we'll wait and see, but I just wanted to throw that out there in the public domain. Now, secondly, I also, we spoke about the master plan a few times now over the past couple of weeks, right? Like, I don't think everybody understands exactly what that 1977 state master plan is. Can you briefly just tell us what that plan says and why you were so passionate about seeing some of those things enacted?
The 1977 master plan is just like any plan that goes through an area redevelopment, right? The 1977 master plan is the only plan mandated for Liberty Park. It called for the construction of swimming pools, basketball courts, ball fields, an aquarium, playgrounds, an amphitheater, and none of this has taken place. Now, we can blame Mr. Peasant, which I'm not. I'm going to blame is the fact that the communities have not been aware that the master plan existed. So my thing is right now is I'm wondering, as a lifelong resident of Jersey City, living on the South Side, if we've had some of these recreational opportunities, right? And we know right now in a city like Jersey City that does not have one recreation center in the city, right? That we need these type of things in our community. And if we can possibly get these things implemented through the master plan, right? Why not do the right thing? Clean up that contaminated land so we have active recreation, and we don't allow the polluters to basically get off for pennies without actually doing the proper cleanup. Mr. Peasant knows, and the question I would like you to ask him if you get the time is, with the cleanup that's being conducted, will he commit that ball fields, basketball courts, an aquarium, and different things like that could be built on that land? Because I'm sorry, the kids I know, right? They look at going, they want to go to the park, right? They might want to view nature, right? But something tells me at the end of the day, they would like to shoot a basketball hoop. They would like to swing a tennis racket. They would like to swing a baseball than just going around and looking at this park. And let us not forget, Mr. Pesin's group back in 2001 actually sued to stop the 9/11 memorial at Liberty State Park. So he can't tell me that he's progressive. He wanted to actually stop the 9/11 memorial. Like, Joe, he considered that active recreation. So let's stop this. Let's stop this. Let's get Mr. Pesin on in a face-to-face and debate these issues and get him to commit to understand that this Liberty State Protection Act needs to be put on halt. It needs to be put on halt. It needs to be redrawn so it has the people of color sitting at the table when these plans are being drafted. Because this is not going to stop here. And I'm just appalled at the narrative that I'm carrying the water for Mr. Fireman or someone. That's disrespectful to me as a man. And it shows me that Mr. Pesin is basically, he's not interested in, and I'll say it again, he's not interested in the master plan. He's interested in instituting the master's plan. That's what he's interested in, and that's what he's representing right now. I'm sorry.
No apologies. I knew we were going to end up somewhere along that track at some point, so it's all right. But Bruce, it's always a pleasure to have you. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be talking soon. All right.
I hope so, Mr. Pesin. Let's talk. Let's talk. Let's do this. Let's do this face to face. Thank you.
All right. We really don't have time for another commercial, but I think we're going to now just talk about a couple other stories I mentioned at the top of the program. So first of all, you guys will recall that I had an interview with Congressman Series last week. Of course, he's the representative of our 8th district. We covered that primary extensively. And I think the one thing from our story, from our interview that stood out to people was that he has no interest in doing a town hall, and he was not shy in saying so. And when I asked him about the possibility, he said, listen, we send out over 100,000 emails every week and let people know exactly what I've done during that week. The idea of having town hall meetings, people use it. You go there to create havoc and create noise to develop a name for themselves. And I'm not going to allow that. They're not going to use me for that. You want to talk to me about issues, come and see me. I meet with everybody. You want to know what I'm doing during the week, sign up for my emails. I sent out over 100,000 of those. So that was one that I thought was definitely worth mentioning. And another one that was an exclusive from Hudson County View as well was longtime Hudson County political fixer Tom Bertoli. Just about 2 weeks after he was indicted on a slew of tax-related charges, will now have his discovery materials made confidential following a protective order signed by a U.S. district judge. So I suggest you guys check that one out. That order was on July 7th. And it says the confidential discovery material shall be used by the defendant and defense counsel only to prepare a defense in this case. Of course, there's more, but we're going hurry up offense. Just want to get a couple things in before we call it a week here. Now, also, last week, the Hoboken Council approved a preliminary $118 million budget. The final version could change significantly, but as my colleague Corey McDonald wrote, this is actually on the municipal level a 9.8% tax increase, but it's largely offset by a 6.52% county tax decrease. So the overall tax bill, which includes your schools, your, of course, local government, your county government, in this case, the library and the open space tax, it only comes out to about a 1.4% difference on your local tax bill, according to the mayor's office. However, that's the current preliminary budget. We don't know what that final budget's going to look like just yet. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's already been 30 minutes. So thank you so much for everyone joining us. Thank you again, Sam and Bruce. It was a pleasure. We'll see you here next week.